because I look orange compared to everybody else. So,
I use Wildwood City Hall.
oh, well, that helps.
I didn't
That
know.
helps.
I'm in here sitting by myself.
Because orange
Okay,
compared to everybody else. So,
I think we're ready to go. So welcome everyone to the Economic Development Committee meeting for Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. Ms. Lobeck, would you please call roll?
Chair Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Bartoni. Okay, Councilmember Bros. Councilmember Dodwell,
here,
Councilmember Fleischer, Councilmember Garitano,
Here.
Councilmember Jackson, Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
All right, thank you. I think so far we do have a quorum, correct? Very good. So moving on now to the next order of business, which would be minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second to that motion? All right, Mr. Garitano, thank you very much. Motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting has been seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes approved. Thank you. Now moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comment? Anyone online, Ms. Lobeck, ready to make a comment?
No, we do not, that I can see.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Lee, I'm going to lean on you a little bit this evening. Due to my technical arrangements here, I've got the ability to be on Zoom, but I don't have the ability to take a look at tonight's agenda and see the order in which items are listed. So I guess we would move on here to number 5, which would be what, sir?
That would be update to business news and business activity updates.
All right, super. Then why don't you go ahead and proceed with that if you would, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And thank you to the committee. Just a couple updates today. I actually was able to confirm this today. So the 2 items here on the updates are outdated based off today's updates. St. Croix Hospice LLC did actually officially open on June 5th. They are still working on certain licensing because they are a medical facility. So they haven't given the actual kickstart. The city will obviously be doing a little promotional activity on our website and a quick shout out online on social media once they are actually completely live, but their office is open and saw it for myself just the other day. So that was good to see. When it comes to business closures, I know we might have discussed this briefly, but Elaine Rossi Academy for Children unfortunately has officially closed as of about 2 weeks ago. It's unfortunate. I believe that the owner, from my understanding, was looking to sell the property, which then obviously meant that she would have to close down the business. So unfortunate, but she was getting to an age where she wanted to retire anyway. So that seems to be the conclusion there. A couple more.
Close that. When did you close that?
That was about 2 weeks ago. The
Okay.
exact date is 2 going on 3 weeks now.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on here, just wanted to do a quick heads up about the old Jack in the Box property. We are still waiting on a finalized update there. The current potential buyer would be an orthodontist office. They are looking to buy the actual property itself and turn it into a medical office. That being said, the property located at 16590 Manchester Road is a little bit, it has it's a little bit worn out, and they would have to do a lot of remodeling and demolition. They did get a quote back, the potential buyer did, and it was a little bit more expensive than expected. That being said, too, the buyer is looking to get financing on that work. So we'll be sure to keep you updated, but as this time, there is no official deal down at this time. Moving more over towards 2675 West Glen Farms Drive, the Simmons Bank building. The city, myself and the Department of Planning met with the CEO of Spirit Bank, and the CEO's name's Nabil Kababi, and he's discussing right now potentially buying the property located at 2675 West Glen Farms Drive. It's adjacent to Network Technology Partners, and we're hoping that he can get that done. Supposedly the actual offer is in hand, and they're looking really really to move quickly on this. And they met with us and were just asking what loops they would have to get through, and they really wouldn't need too much. They would just need a reoccupancy permit from St. Louis County and a business license from the city of Wildwood, which they have already applied for. So more updates to come there, but I hope to see potentially some movement on that by July's meeting.
So
Next
just,
item.
let me ask you real quick, Mr. Lee. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a done deal, where do you think this is at right now?
I would say I'm feeling about 8 or 9 right now.
Okay.
Yep, feeling very confident about that. I will say one item with that. The Edwards Jones that is currently located within that plaza, there's a vacancy within it, but also an Edwards Jones that takes up a small portion. Their lease doesn't end till 2026. So that Edwards Jones would technically still have the right to be there until that date. At this time, they are willing to negotiate and work with that. And it seems like they will probably just operate until that lease expires. So just wanted to give a heads up there as well to give you the most updated information. The other item here, just wanted to give a quick thank you to Benedetto's located at 16721 Main Street, Wildwood Pub and Grill at 17253 New College Avenue, and then obviously Miss Becky's Salsa Shack for their contributions. They'll be donating.
Back earlier than I thought.
They'll be donating food to the mayor's new resident picnic on June 24, 2023 from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. To showcase some of the wonderful eateries we have here in Wildwood. Did want to just give that shout out and let them, and looking forward to that. We're expecting over 40 residents at this point. So it should be a good turnout. Lastly,
Mr. Lee, would you one more time for the committee's benefit, remind us all of the date, time, and location of that event? Because I know everybody gets bombarded with so many emails that somebody may have missed it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a problem whatsoever. So that event, the Mayor's New Resident Picnic, will be taking place on Saturday, June 24th, 2023, from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And that event's going to take place over at Wildwood Community Park, located at 17155 Pond Grover Parkway at the main pavilion. So moving on there, if there's no questions about the picnic, just wanted to also put a little spotlight on the Wildwood Business Association for their work over with the 2023 Food Truck Festival. It seemed like it went off without a hitch. I spoke with the president of the WBA, Jenny Goski, and she exclaimed that there was a great turnout, and she stated that they're going to try to make this an annual event. So obviously had a good return for them. Looking to see that, and really happy to see that they're kind of growing and getting in the right direction there. So good news there.
Do you know, sir, how many food trucks were present for that event?
Yes, there were definitely over, I think there was about around 12 food trucks that were present.
There were 3. I was there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there were 3.
So were there tables selling food from potential?
There were some booth vendors, but 3
Okay.
trucks. There was
Okay.
a pizza truck, a barbecue truck, and then a donut one. And then there were a couple of vendors there that were selling, like Silver Spoon ice cream was there as one
Gotcha.
example. Micro Meadows was there, and
I-
I'm assuming there might be some others.
So we
Very
had
good.
3 trucks and maybe 3 or 4 additional vendors, it sounds like.
Yes, they originally had more planned for the event, but due to the weather, several trucks canceled out on them.
Sure.
And so they ended up having to just try to call one back to at least get 3 there for the event.
How was the turnout?
Not very
Uh,
good. I didn't think it was. No.
I would say, I mean, the rain did not help at
The rain
all.
didn't
So,
help, yeah.
I would phrase it as it never filled up. It just was, some people kind of walking along the booths there.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that they were able to incorporate some local businesses as well. That's one of the things I wanted to make sure happened.
Yeah, and I know speaking with David Starr with Silver Spoon, I know he was excited to be at that event as well. I know he's a pretty active participant with the organization. But yeah, my understanding was from with Jenny Goski, I guess a lot did cancel because I was told it was going to be a pretty significant number of food trucks there that I guess didn't show up. Okay. Well, in that case, I will say that Ms. Goski did indicate that they will be trying to hold this event annually. So they will be moving in that direction, just as a heads up. I'll get more information on that as well, and I can provide a little bit additional details within the report next month. Two other items tonight. Just wanted to give an update on the ribbon cuttings. The most recent, the closest one will be Tresses by Jess. We're hoping to have that done and have dates presented to the council within the next week or so. And then for the St. Croix, they wanted to make sure that they get their operation up and running and they have everything correctly put where they're taking in patients at that point before they actually get rolling there. So that will probably occur sometime in July. The last item I wanted to discuss tonight was not actually on the report, just because it was a very recent update. Yesterday, I got a text right after council from the owner of Victoria, and unfortunately, he is looking to sell the company, the restaurant Victoria. He just had a grand opening. Supposedly, he has another project in the works of doing some kind of hydrogen extraction technology that he has a patent for that he needs to dedicate his time to. But right now,
Yeah.
Yep. Councilmember
God bless
Burke.
you.
Oh, God
No,
bless.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. What I was going to say was the main thing that I got out of the conversation is that right now they have invested quite a bit of money into the operation, and he is looking to pass that on to someone to take over the lease. He has about a little bit less, or a little bit over a year, sorry, a little bit over a year left on that lease, and he's looking for a potential person to take it on, and the individual would be able to take it on without having to pay any additional money other than just paying off the lease. That being said, the lease is at $7,300 per month. And at this time, he is planning, unless he's able to find a buyer, to kind of close down here within the next month or so. So it's definitely an unfortunate event and something very recent, and a very recent update, and pretty shocked, honestly, just based off the fact that we just did the grand opening over there.
Mhm.
So I did
Mhm.
want to put that out there, and we can obviously have a discussion and seek input from the committee.
So, Mr. Lee, you and I talked earlier today. I originally thought that establishment was located in Ward 8, which is Mr. Garitano's ward, but I think we confirmed that it's actually in Ward 7, correct?
That is correct.
And I think you already let Mr. Flasher and Mr. Hopper know.
Yep, I sent an email out to Councilmember Flasher and Hopper earlier today and just gave them a heads up and said if you have any questions to give me a call.
Super. And then I think you mentioned that you were going to contact some business contacts to see if anybody might have a potential customer who might be interested in that particular business, correct?
Yes, I have reached out to my broker relations that handle pretty much every property here in Wildwood, but also some businesses that are on the outskirts as well, and just let them know that, hey, this is an opportunity, and I did sell it as, hey, all you would have to do is take over the lease. So in this case, that's where we're at right now. I have not heard back from any of those brokers. So at this time, we just have no updates as someone might be willing to take it over. I know that they have a great staff. They got enough workers right now to keep it operational. I was told by the owner that they would be looking to have it open, to make it profitable and to really turn things in the right direction. You'd have to have it open 7 days a week, was one of the notes. So just as something, food for thought, and what I will be doing and the department will be doing. We'll be working with the brokers to potentially find someone to take over that lease. I do think it is somewhat of a sweet deal as long as someone gets in before they would close, because if they were able to do that, then at the end of the day, you already have a staff there. You're only taking over the lease, and you are taking over a property that just got a lot of new equipment in the kitchen and a lot of new equipment in general. I know they invested in some of the decor, and I believe some of the tables there are new too. So it's lock key ready, turnkey ready, and ready for another business to take it over. But unfortunately, Mr. Green, the owner currently, is looking on moving to other endeavors, and he's just looking to cut his losses at this point.
All right, well, sorry to hear that, but I guess it goes without saying, if anyone has any knowledge of anyone they think might have even a mild interest in the business, let Mr. Lee know and put them in contact with him so that hopefully we could do something to salvage that business.
They
Yes,
could open an Indian restaurant there. We don't have that around here.
that would be delicious. My lunch hour would be greatly appreciative.
So would my husband. Yeah.
In that
But
case,
we
so
have a
we'll-
lot of members that are Indian in descent in the community, and so,
Including my son-in-law.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. In that case, though, as well, I mean, I do think that's, a great opportunity, and I'll be keeping the committee updated as well as we kind of learn more on this. Definitely be sending out emails just if we do hear any brokers get back to us with potential interest. I'll be sure to keep everyone in the loop. I know our next meeting is right around that July, I believe July 13th, if I have the agenda. So I
Mhm.
want to keep you guys in the loop before July 11th, sorry. Before we actually go out and they would close. I don't think it's happening within the next couple days, but he definitely said they are kind of gearing towards that direction at this time. So we're hoping that someone could take it over and, fill out the rest of that lease.
And obviously, Thomas, you're sharing this with us here. So I'm going to assume it's public information. We can get the word out, and he's fine with us saying that he is going to be exiting this business
Yes.
in about a month or so, because I mean, sometimes when the word gets out like that, then obviously sometimes people may not, may think differently.
Yes.
We've
Thank you,
seen that
Council.
happen with one of our other businesses when they said they were looking to sell. They needed to go back out and tell everyone, hey, we're still open. Doesn't mean that we're closed now.
Yep. And just to confirm, thank you for clarifying there, Councilmember Garitano. During my phone call today with Mr. Green, I explicitly asked, today we have an Economic Development Committee meeting. May I share it with the committee? And he did confirm that would be okay. And on top of that too, he is fully open right now. If you want to go get a bite to eat from Victoria, they are open. That being said, it's something that's just kind of on the horizon looking down, and we're hoping to find a replacement to move in there. But that's all I have for the business updates and activities at this time. More than happy to answer any questions on the items listed.
Thank you very much, sir. So what is next on the agenda?
The next item would be, it's also for information item. It would be the road sponsorship program update.
All right, and that would be coming from you again, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so with the road sponsorship program, where we left off during the Economic Development Committee meeting on May 23rd, the committee discussed this, and we did bring up a pretty large concern that the city wouldn't necessarily be able to filter out organizations or businesses that might have malicious intent from participating in the road sponsorship program. The committee directed the department to speak with the city attorney on this matter to see if there would be a way to selectively choose organizations that could enter the program. Unfortunately, the city attorney did confirm with the department that we would not be able to selectively choose organizations. It would have to be everyone is eligible as long as they meet certain requirements, which would mean as long as they could pay the fee that we would charge to maintain the road and also to obviously erect the sign. That being said, at this time, the department is looking, it is a for information item, but the department would say that this would be something that we might not want to move forward with, just based off the fact that we could definitely see a controversial item if we were to move forward and a organization that doesn't represent our values were to come out and try to sponsor one of our roads.
So I have my own view of this program, but before I offer my views, I guess I would open the discussion to other members of the committee to get their views before I give mine.
And my only comment would be, I believe somebody shared that came from Councilmember Clark. And if that's correct, hopefully somebody will circle back around and share with her what the
we will.
recovery was.
Mr. Bartoni, you have your hand up.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, I appreciate the effort that the department's put into this, but I think we even kind of touched on this at the last meeting that, sometimes you just gotta maybe put a good idea to rest just because of the possible implications. So I think it's just fortunate, but it is reality, and just have to find something different, I think.
Mr. Garitano.
Sure, thank you. I would say that while I think the idea is a good one here, knowing what we have heard from residents in the past when it comes to road signs and that we have too many signs on our roads, that's a complaint I have specifically heard. Because
So have I.
you know, I know we try to follow, I guess, the uniform code that the Department of Public Works is required to do. All these extra signs, you know, when you're looking at roundabouts and on the roads, they're good. They're there for safety, but adding to it signage that is optional, I think would work against it. And it kind of works against a lot of things where we as a city have tried to manage and control signage, you know, to keep it Wildwood unique.
So I think everyone has basically echoed my thoughts and feelings on this. So this is not an actual piece of legislation that's before us. So can we just let this basically die on its own, or do you need some type of motion from the committee?
Tonight, it is a for information item, Mr. Chair. So there would be no action necessary tonight, but if we would like to put it back and postpone indefinitely, I could put it as a for action item on the next agenda.
Okay. Unless anybody objects, I suggest that we just let this let this one die of its own accord. I don't think there's anything else you need to do, Mr. Lee.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
And thank you everyone for your comments. Glad to see that we're all thinking in unison on this particular issue. So the next item on the agenda is,
We'll be moving into for action. So if you want to make that statement first, and then we'll be moving into the 2023 marketing campaign ad proofs, and the department will be sharing the screen to showcase the kind of the concepts that were put together.
okay, super. So let's move into the 4 action items, and the first 4 action item is which one?
The 2023 marketing campaign ad
Mhm.
proofs.
All right, then why don't you go ahead and proceed with that?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And so during the last meeting, we had discussed potentially running out a test campaign to test the efficiency and effectiveness of a digital marketing campaign. Does it actually cause an effect to actually get someone to convert and rent out property? There were some concerns brought up. That being said, we wanted to kind of start seeing what this would look like conceptually. So the committee had requested from the department to put together a proof or two to kind of show what direction this would look like. And I would like to, the department would like to, before we share the screen here, would just like to let you know this picture that would be shown, this is fit to spec for a LinkedIn sponsored content ad. So it would be within a feed of a LinkedIn user. That being said too, there would be additional wording that would go with it, but it would be within it would be above the picture within the context bar. So just wanted to give that, but this is just a picture, just kind of giving a concept of what this could potentially look like. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and I'll show you proof 1.
Mr. Lee, I am going to have to depart. I just got a text here. So I see that Mr. Jaxie has joined us. So we still have 5, and that is a quorum, correct?
That is correct. We have
So
1,
you-
2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that is correct, sir.
So action can still be taken on the various items under 4 action.
Mhm.
That is
All right,
correct.
very good. So I apologize to everyone for my early departure here. Ms. Dodwell, thank you for taking over as vice chair, and I will catch up with Mr. Lee and or Ms. Dodwell later on regarding anything significant that came out of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Chair.
very much.
Okay. Well, Vice Chair Dodwell, may I proceed with presenting?
Yes, you may. Please go right ahead.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen at this moment?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so this was proof 1, and this was really tickling the live, work, play concept. I know that's really what we wanted to do, was show individuals, and I wanted to kind of tell the story behind it. So this would be showing kind of the niceness of living in Wildwood, but also being able to play and work at the same time. And if you see the check commercial listings, that would be the call to action on this ad. What would happen is if an individual were interested and they saw this ad there would also be additional text that would go above it that would kind of explain what Wildwood's trying to do here. This would just be the graphic for the to kind of catch the attention, if you will. If the individual were to click on the ad, it would lead to we would have a dedicated web page on our website that would kind of run through a brief description of Wildwood as a place to do business. And then it would also have an area that showcases the areas, the commercial listings, literally the properties that are currently vacant that could be rented out or leased out or bought. And then the corresponding broker information that manages that property. And just to confirm as well, that is, we currently have that on our website, the site selection area, but this would just be a direct link to it. And we'd also have a spot where an individual could submit their contact information, and that information would be submitted to myself, and the department could go ahead and then reach out to that individual. But this is really just to kind of get their eyes, but trying to put this this concept we've been talking about into a picture. So I did want to get your thoughts, the committee's thoughts on this particular proof. I'll show the second proof as well, and then we can kind of discuss both. And what feedback you may all have, I can definitely, the department can definitely take into consideration and hopefully bring back during the next committee meeting a better revised version. But let me go ahead and share the proof 2. Is everyone okay with moving over to proof 2?
Mhm.
Okay, so here is proof 2. You'll notice this one kind of has a different approach. It's not necessarily going after the live, work, play atmosphere. This was hopefully what I used here was to kind of showcase some of the fun things that Wildwood does have. If you can see here, it has a couple pictures of town center. I wanted to make sure we had something in there for our parks. I love that picture of Anniversary Park. I think it really does capture the essence of that park. It showcases here up top to the left-hand corner what we do during Celebrate Wildwood, which is obviously our largest event and has the most business participation out of all of our events. And then also it has City Hall, the Main Street, and then the community college as well to kind of showcase that that base of workers, but also potentially a base of consumers as well. So this is the second proof we have here. These are just some conceptual ideas, but the department is looking for feedback and input on these concepts, and would be more than willing to take that feedback to create better and more efficient proofs that would be potentially acceptable to the committee. And I'm available now for any questions. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to just start with my statement on the one with the 3 pictures. The first cut that you showed us, I think that's really classy looking because it's very simplistic. It's very, each one of those pictures pops out nicely. So it doesn't overwhelm the user when they're looking at it, and hopefully you can work in the text that you want to put in there to guide them to the more detailed components of it. So for a first start, I think this looks fine to me, but I'll let everybody else speak up on it. Any other comments from anyone else?
I do, Katie. I have my
Okay.
hand up, but I don't know if you see it.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I do
I
apologize.
It's in your frame.
I can see it now. I can see it now.
Okay. So, Tom, on the first one, the one you have up there now, I mean, I like the simplicity of it that Katie kind of mentioned. When you say play, to me, I don't think of shopping.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there are people out there that do, including the person I live with. But I would have thought that maybe just feature more of our trails might be a little bit more appropriate for play, and maybe have a picture of 3 or 4 size family riding a bike along one of our trails. The other 2, the live and work, I like both of those just fine. And I think the other one that you showed also, I like that one as well. I think that could work also, but just the one on the play, but that might be a personal thing with myself.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Bartoni. I appreciate that input. And And another really cool thing about digital advertising is that we would be able to kind of A/B test, if you will, multiple creatives. So if we wanted to, we could actually start serving impressions at a 50-50 split with both of these ads, but also we could go in and maybe we switch out like you recommended there. I honestly agree with you. I think that if we would go under the play area, I would really like to maybe emphasize the trails, which I tried to do with this anniversary park picture. Maybe have some, like you said, maybe a family riding their bicycles. I think that's a really great way to showcase that families live out here. It's a family-friendly community. But the awesome thing is as well, we could maintain for the second proof that is currently on the screen. For this proof, we could actually switch out pictures too. So we could kind of keep this same general gist, if you will, or concept, but switch out pictures to make it feel different. So an individual might be served a second impression, but not instead of seeing, maybe the Celebrate Wildwood picture in the community college, they're seeing a picture of, a family riding a bike and maybe a picture of the YMCA, or maybe a picture of the, Silver Spoon ice cream and sweets ribbon cutting ceremony. So just wanted to let you know with digital, this is just conceptual. So we're not defined by one ad. We can actually run multiple ads, but the main thing is you want to probably keep it, with my experience, you want to keep it to a maximum of 2 to 3 ads, and you want to have them pretty similar in characteristics, just because if you go further than that, you're no longer creating a cohesive brand for the campaign. And you want to make sure if an individual sees 2 ads that are under the same marketing campaign, they know that they're related. So just wanted to give that insight. And but no, I really do appreciate that insight, Councilmember Bartoni, and I can definitely make a little changes, a couple tweaks there, and see what we can put together.
Okay, and thanks for that feedback also. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to make one other comment too. Based on what you just said, I would make sure that your fonts that you're using in both ads are the same. They're a little different. And so if you want to make sure that they look like they're in the same package, your business starts here should look the same as check commercial listings, just so we have some consistency.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Anybody else have anything that they want to comment on?
Yeah, Katie, I I had one quick comment for you, Tom. Just on that second ad, I like them both. I do like Councilmember Bartoni's suggestion of maybe changing the picture on play. On the second one, while we in this group all know what those pictures represent, I think to the unsuspecting new person who knows nothing about Wildwood, for instance, the bottom right picture of the community college, that's just a building in a landscape as far as they're concerned. So my suggestion would be you've got to find a way to tie those in. Like Anniversary Park, we know exactly what that is because of the sign. Maybe see if you can find either a picture with the community college's sign on it, or you'll have to add text to it if you want the viewer to know what you're trying to highlight.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that comment, and I will do whatever I can to not add text, because you don't want to overload it with text. But I think you're right. Being able to show some kind of signage definitely would help. And I think especially with City Hall, we do have our Wildwood Municipal Building at the front of that. We could take a new picture. Same goes with the community college. I know they got some construction going on right now, but if we were to move forward with this, I think we would go ahead and do a couple like a photo shoot almost for some of our most important landmarks, to make sure that the pictures are top class. This is really just to kind of get the mind flowing. But I definitely agree with you in that case, because like you said, if you don't know Wildwood, you're definitely not going to know that that's the community college on the bottom right-hand corner.
Well, and if it doesn't have to be text, certainly, right? You can take a similar picture, stage a picture with students, and I'll know what you're trying to tell me, that that's higher education, and that there's higher education here, just like parks and trails with people on them. Just suggestion that whatever your picture is, make sure it gives the context you want it to give.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Councilmember Jaxie. Another thing, what was I going to say there? Forgot my thought there, but yeah. Any other comments, anyone?
Mr. Marshall.
My only question would be, and you guys have been doing this for a long time, I'm still trying to figure out how your LinkedIn ad would be any more effective than any of the real estate brokers who are selling multiple locations. And in my experience, looking for sites in other cities, you went to the brokers and they would tell you what's available because you had to work through the broker to get the space anyway. So the question would be, I think all those suggestions are great, but I'm still trying to figure out the city's role in trying to lease properties that we don't own to say, bring businesses in. Is that the cost effective? And you would be the expert on that. I do consulting work, and we're really restricted as to how we advertise because we kind of know who our targets are. I'm just curious, the success rate that you would be looking for, regardless of what the cost is, how many people, I'm on LinkedIn probably 2 hours a day. I don't see anything pop up because I guess I'm not in that right category of being a business broker or something like that. So I'm just curious how the campaign would work. And I know you sent me the information on the space and all that. I understand that, but I also know that all of those different brokers, they have a lot more skin in the game than we do because a lot of those people are getting paid for empty spaces and, they don't have the same incentive. But I'm trying to figure out what our incentive is from a city's taxpayers' money to try to get leases filled.
Yes. Vice Chair Dodwell, may I respond?
Sure.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. I do believe that's an amazing question, and I'd love to walk you through that. So, and I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice today, everyone, so I do apologize. The main piece here with having this digital marketing campaign, there's a couple components that can show its efficacy. One being right now, and this is from my experience within the when talking with brokers, with talking with businesses that are outside of the city, with talking with developers, Wildwood doesn't have the best reputation for being, what you might say, quote unquote, business friendly. This won't necessarily have, we're not leasing out space from a city property. This would be looking to assist our brokers that currently lease out the space because, quite frankly, there is not enough. I am subscribed to every single one of them, and I assume I'd probably be the one receiving their ads. I have not seen one single ad served to me for any of the properties in the city of Wildwood. So unfortunately, this would be a tactic to help fill that void and hopefully help change the narrative at Wildwood, stating, hey, it's a different, there's a new mindset here. This committee, this council is looking to grow our business here. We're looking to support business. And what the other item is when you get an advertisement from a broker, that is great. You might, if you're interested in it, but a lot of individuals, a lot of businesses that I've walked through the process with of getting them a business license or walking them through the process of getting a reoccupancy permit, all that good stuff, being that liaison, they trust the city because we have no skin in the game. Like you said, they see that, oh, wow, they just want us to come out to their city. They're not going to make any money off this. They're just doing this because they want to bring businesses here. So the main piece that would be really effective here is that individuals wouldn't be getting, and they're not getting those ads in the first place, but they'd be getting ads that are hopefully spotlighting the ability to own a business in Wildwood, have it be successful, and also, live a good life out here because we do offer such great amenities, which would be explained a little bit more in the webpage. The other item is from this campaign, you can't really, at the end of the day, I can't tell you exactly that, okay, if we ran a $1,000 test campaign that we would get 2 businesses to sign a lease in the next month. It would be something that would have to settle and it would take time. But what I can say is the click-through rate and the actual conversions of people signing up, pretty much putting in their contact information for me to contact them. The click-through rate could be seen. I would have to pull up a report from a previous report. But I know with Facebook, it's typically around. So if we wanted to go with Facebook too, if we want to do something like that, we could go ahead and see around 0.8% clicks. So for every 100 ads served, which is relatively cheap, that serving an impression is, a couple pennies. For every dollar you're spending, at 0.8% click-through rate, for every $100 you're spending, you're getting a person that clicks through and reads the content and would be converting and sending their information over to you. But if you would like, Councilmember Marshall, I would love to go back into my reporting and check my statistics that I have so I can give you factual information. I want to make sure my stats are right, but I could definitely expect that the click-through rate and the conversions of individuals inquiring, we can give definitive answers on that, what we can expect. But when it comes to actually having people sign leases, that is where the question comes into play. And that's why I've been so hesitant to recommend a full-blown campaign with a digital marketing agency. I used to do that. That was my career before this. I ran an entire wing of that. And I've seen very successful campaigns doing the same thing that we're trying to do here. But I've also seen campaigns that did not perform to where they should have been, just because there's a lot of items that popped up. But the main thing is, are there businesses willing to move out here? If there's just no one that's wanting to move in Wildwood in general, that could be an issue, and that might lead to not having any conversions as someone leasing out property. That being said, too, we would be using a super targeted approach. And I did want to bring up that Facebook and Instagram might be a fun way to go with this as well, because there's two different items here. First and foremost, with LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, we would be using a targeted approach where we would be going after small business owners, or business owners that are right now working from home. They have home occupation businesses. Those individuals are most likely to expand or looking to find space. Individuals that are practically in the market. You can also do a keyword search target, which means if they were searching in Google, maybe properties to rent, commercial properties to rent, properties for Zillow, or whatever it might be, those individuals would be served ads as well. So you're actually getting these ads in front of people that are interested in potentially growing their business or potentially leasing out space. So there's a couple ways that the targeted portion of this, and I would love to, if you would like, we could schedule a meeting, Councilmember Marshall, to walk through this, because I love talking about it. It was a big part of my life. But the other piece too is that we had discussed, the committee and I and the department have discussed in a previous meeting before we had kind of tailored this back a little bit, about potentially helping our current businesses. And what that would look like is doing a shop local campaign. The shop local campaign would be helping promote individuals in Wildwood. We target every resident in Wildwood, and all of those individuals would be given an ad to kind of say, hey, keep that money local, keep it here. And there's a lot of good spots. And those ads, I would also be more than welcome. The department would be more than happy to put those copies together too, if the committee would wish to see something that would be more tailored towards the shop local component. But more than happy to answer any further questions if I didn't get the exact details you wanted, and more than happy to meet with you, Mr. Marshall.
No, I think
Well,
you did a great
Tom-
job. I just find it, I don't understand it as well. I have a bigger issue with how do you explain to taxpayers when we say we don't have the money to do this? They say, then why are you advertising commercial properties for the brokers who have the spaces? And you would kind of think, people advertise their own basis, but you don't need my support. So you know what you're talking about here. I'm just curious.
No,
Ed,
sorry.
Thomas, might I speak? Ed, I think because you're coming in just a little bit late, Thomas, if you could perhaps give him, email to him the marketing campaign options that you had lined out prior to this meeting. I think it was back in probably March that you had shared that information with us. The committee had already gone through some various ways to promote the city as a whole to businesses throughout the area, throughout the United States. While we have individuals that are moving to Wildwood, we also want to have workers move into Wildwood so that we can help support a daytime business improvement, as well as an evening and nighttime business improvement. And so this is just kind of a first initial step based upon the information that Thomas has already provided us. We did a bid out to 7 to 10 different advertising agencies. And for similar work such as this, that Thomas is going to be putting together, we were seeing costs of $7 to $10 to $15,000, $20,000. This is $1,000 investment for us to help promote to businesses inside the city of Wildwood as well as outside the city of Wildwood what we have to offer in the way of amenities and clients, customers, whatever you want to call them. Here's the kind of lifestyle that the 350,000 people that live in Wildwood can bring to your business, which means there's a whole variety of businesses that we can have. And so I certainly understand your concern about overspending the taxpayers' dollars. We're looking at this as a first start to get better data on what people are looking for without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So I just wanted to give you a little bit
No,
of
and
background
I
on
appreciate-
why we got where we're at.
I totally appreciate that. And I don't want to hold it up. I just find, I mean, I do site selection stuff with corporations all the time. And
Mhm.
there are companies, that's all they do. So if you were going to target somebody like that you had 300,000 square foot of office space where you're targeting an IBM or someone like that, but that's quite different than what we're looking for because we're looking for residents in that. But I don't want to hold it up. I find it intriguing. And maybe it's just the way that the technology has changed and that's where people go to find it. So I'm all, you don't need my support on it. I think the committee knows what they're talking. You've already been through it, so I don't hold anything up.
Well, and based on what you just said, Ed, we'd be interested in hearing from you about ways that we can bring in some of those larger target groups. We've had discussions about the fact that we have a lot of CEOs, CIOs, C-level individuals that are living out in this community, and how do we get to those as a means to garner some additional daytime foot traffic, individuals that are going to fill some of that space in town center, or companies that are going to fill some of that space in town center.
Sure.
And Vice Chair Dodwell,
Mhm.
real quick. Oh, I do see Councilmember Bartoni with his hand up, by the way. Just wanted to let you know.
Yes, I was going to go to that next. Don, do you have a question?
No, my hand's up by, like, I tried to take it down. I couldn't. So
Oh,
thank you, though.
yeah. I did want to mention one other thing too, is that Councilmember Marshall, I definitely agree. And I think it might be beneficial. If you would like, I would love to set up a time to meet with you to kind of discuss this and discuss, how this would work. And one thing I did want to note too, is if you do have those connections with those more large scale developers, I know that we had that North Point development that was looking to potentially come to Wildwood. They came in and they wanted to do they wanted to run it through a Chapter 99, which is a little bit more different, but the city was willing to talk about it. That fell through. We were told that it was based off labor and material costs, but come to find out, my colleague, not my colleague, but the person that had the position I had, the economic development person over in Maryland Heights, supposedly secured the deal with North Point Development shortly after they had discontinued talks with the city. I think that personally, if we were able to land some kind of industrial use over there off Etherton in that space, that would really fix a lot of the issues of having that daytime traffic. So that's been a lot of my intention, and a lot of the phone calls I've been making to developers is, are you willing to develop a large industrial base? And unfortunately, we have not seen too much success in that arena, but I do think that is probably the most paramount piece when it comes to economic development, is to getting that industrial space filled as soon as possible. Just because that can change a lot. If we were able to get an Amazon, it's not near residents' homes. It's in a good spot where the noise could be controlled. If we were able to get something like that, we would definitely have an influx in that daytime traffic, looking for lunch, looking for, hey, I got to kill an hour while I'm on lunch, all that good stuff. So it really is just kind of this right here. And if a resident were to talk to me and say, hey, why are we spending, $1,000 taxpayer money on this program, I would tell them, hey, we did a resident survey and they came back to us and said, we really want more restaurants, more retail, and more entertainment options in the city. So what we're trying to do too is not only help boost our economic base and help promote ourselves and hopefully maybe sometime, get into the pool A of the pool tax program, but really get more amenities here for our residents so they don't have to go to Ellisville. They don't have to go to Baldwin, or they don't have to go, well, you're not necessarily Eureka, but Baldwin and Ellisville go east instead. They could stay right here at home, which is the goal. And hopefully, and what I see in the next 5 to 10 years is hopefully making the town center be a little buzzing area for the western corridor of St. Louis County. But thank you so much, Councilmember Marshall, and would love to meet with you to discuss further.
Happy to.
So, and Vice Chair Dodwell, all I'm really asking for tonight
Mhm.
was the additional input. And then also if I would like, the department would like to, take the notes that were given today and, do some touch points here and put together a, the shop local component of these ads as well. And with that, and requesting a motion to approve the idea of this, the concept's looking good with some revisions, and then also put together something for the shop local component, and then bring those proofs back with some text as well for the July meeting. That's what the department's looking for tonight.
Do we have a motion from anyone for said activity?
I'll make that motion, Katie.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I'll abstain.
Looks- Okay, Ed's abstaining.
You have enough, though.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
And do you have access to the, do you happen to have access to the agenda, or I can help you out there? If
I've got the agenda right here.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So our next item on the agenda is utilization of the pond school. And we'll let Thomas review with us what his concerns, his thoughts are on that topic.
Yes. So over the last month, Councilmember Ottenberg and I have been discussing, and he brought up, and I don't know what exactly got his mind racing on this one, but I definitely, after looking into it, started thinking about it myself. He wanted me to take a look into this, and I was more than happy to do so. So the department did take a look into the Old Pond School, the facilities that are currently available, the policy that we currently have, and the rental statistics for this year. And I just wanted to go through those real quick and then get some input from the committee. But 1 second, sorry, I'm losing my voice, everyone. But the Old Pond School, it is, and obviously it's a historic building, the actual schoolhouse is. And then we have the pavilion with the playground, the amenities of, we do have the restrooms there, the picnic tables, the drinking fountains. It is a popular park, but we do have rental facilities available as well. You can rent out the schoolhouse and rent out the pavilion for certain events. And we wanted to find out ways that we could potentially increase the usage of it, because Councilmember Ottenberg and I had talked, and we were really thinking that, it is an underutilized asset that the city has. So currently, I just wanted to go over the rental policies real quick. At present, the actual schoolhouse itself, it's only exclusively available for rent to nonprofit organizations and political subdivisions, which would mean like an HOA, etc. In this case, I know the Pond Athletic Association has rented it out a couple times for their meetings, but we can't rent it out to individuals that might be trying to have just a meeting for their book club, or trying to have just a coffee meeting or something like that. But The rental price is $25 for the political subdivisions and the nonprofit organizations, and they do provide the city with a $50 deposit. That deposit is returned to them after the successful use of the building without any damage. On the other hand, the pavilion is actually open for rental to all individuals, and the city charges a rental fee of $30 for residents and $50 for non-residents that are interested in utilizing the space. Just looking at the rental statistics from January 1st, 2023, right now we've only had that space, Old Pond School, either the pavilion or the schoolhouse, rented out 13 rented out 13 times in total. The actual schoolhouse has seen significantly more rentals usage at a 9-time clip, and then the other has only had 4. In this case, it does seem that the schoolhouse is a little bit more popular, but that means, it does serve as a good spot for some of our HOAs and some of our local political subdivisions to have a spot to meet. With these low numbers, though, with only 13 rentals over the course of the 2023 year so far, we do believe, and the department does believe, that the facility is being underutilized. And just to give a little bit further information here, we do recognize the historic nature of the schoolhouse, and it does cause some certain limitations on its usage. But I do think there could be some enhanced accessibility for the rental eligibility. So the department today is just providing some suggestions. This is not concrete. We're also just, at the end of the day, the department's looking for input from the committee on how we could potentially better utilize it and get the word out a little bit more. But the couple items I had put together were the expanding of the rental eligibility. So pretty much evaluating the possibility of extending the rental opportunities of the schoolhouse specifically to organizations other than nonprofits and political subdivisions. I do believe that could help, and especially with the, I actually am very aware of some school book clubs, some clubs that do biking in the afternoon, that might want to use it to get ready for a big ride or something like that. I have seen that interest, but they are prohibited from renting out the actual schoolhouse itself. So that being said, we could look at the eligibility requirements and potentially make a change there. The other item was marketing and promotional materials for it. In this case, the department might recommend developing a promotional strategy to increase awareness about the Old Pond School, really highlight its historic nature and the fact of it's been there for so long, and it's just a beautiful property, honestly. But this may involve utilizing social media, local publications, and other community events to highlight it, but potentially putting some literature together to put at the city booths at our events. On top of that as well, the department thought of a good idea of potentially, not this year because we're still establishing the event, but next year when we are a little bit more fluid, potentially hosting a Wildwood Business Forum at the Old Pond School, so we can just do a little highlight of it in itself. The other item was just collaboration and getting involved with partnerships. So really maybe getting involved with the HPC or the Wildwood Historical Society. I apologize. Some local schools, if they might be working, maybe some PTA meetings, but also working with the St. Louis Community College, the YMCA, some other organizations that might want to utilize the facility for certain events and potentially partner with them on events that we could work together towards. And then the last piece was potentially enhancing the amenities. We could consider improving the amenities of the signage. I think the signage looks good, but the landscaping looks good, but maybe additional recreational features. We already do have the playground there, the bathrooms and whatnot. I do believe last time I was there that there was a porta potty. So potentially having a more solid restroom at the facility, and maybe thinking of outside the box ways of enhancing that park to make it really appeal for someone that might want to rent out a birthday party, because it seems with only 4 rentals of the pavilion that we are not seeing the engagement that we would hope. So that in that case, the department has presented some options of potentially moving in the right direction for rent, how many times this is being rented, but the department today is looking for guidance and some input from the committee on what next steps could potentially be and what we would like to possibly adopt to help with the utilization of the Old Pond School. I'm now available for any questions, and I do appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair.
Do we have any comments from anybody or questions for Thomas?
I will make a comment there, Chair.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, I would agree that it's an underutilized property. And I think that it's probably easy to forget that it's there. I know that we, at one point, ran into issues at the city when we had many committees. We were going through a period of time of so many committees being formed that we would run out of space frequently at City Hall. And one committee that I chaired actually ended up having to use the Old Pond School for its
Mhm.
meetings. So it was an interesting place to have meetings at. But also, Old Pond School ended up being kind of a hero for the Glencoe Community Church that was located right down at the end of Washington Avenue, which was impacted by one of the great floods that we had several years back. And the
Mhm.
folks at the Glencoe Church were looking for a space to continue to meet. And fortunately, the city was able to step in and offer them that space on their, I think their Sunday mornings and even one
Mhm.
day a week until they could get back going after they recovered from that flood. So I think it is a very historic site. It's great. I mean, it's a one-room schoolhouse. It's got the basement, and yeah, it'd be great if we can get it out there and more people could use it.
Has,
Anyone else? Mr. Marshall?
has anyone, and I know it keeps going up and up and up, but a lot of the schools will rent out to churches or want to be churches. And usually they start out with a small group and then they get a little bit bigger and and then they go build their church. But
Mhm.
I know there's a cost associated with that. I think they're paying so much for janitors and that type of stuff in there. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering if there would be an opportunity for that. You know, the downside of that is the parking. And it's
Mhm.
all, we used to do concerts there, and you've got to get parking across the street permitted, and then you got to worry about people getting across the street. I mean, we used to have to use police just to get people across. So that there is a real downside there, and there's not enough space there to do it. But you know, some kind of a smaller venue like that where they were trying to get something together and to do that or not. And it's just difficult. And you know, we did have times when that first came in, we didn't have meeting rooms, so there were a lot of meetings held out there, and a lot of money put into trying to keeping it in that condition. And
Mhm.
I don't know if there, you know, if there are smaller groups, something like that, but I know that Crestview Middle School at one point had two different churches meeting in there on Sunday mornings, and I know they were paying something. And then I know that there were some others, but I think there's a lot of empty churches now too. So that's a tough group too. But just a thought.
Mhm. Mhm. One of the questions that I had is, do we have any signage up at either location on how to rent a facility or that the facility is available for rent?
So I'm so sorry today. My voice is
No,
Losing it.
you're coming down with a cold, it sounds like.
a little bit, yes. I no, there is not currently Vice Chair Dodwell. There are no, there is signage there, and it's a very nice sign that
Yeah,
shows
but there's
the-
nothing speaking
nothing there
to
about-
the ability to rent.
That is correct.
Perhaps that would be our easiest first step, is to put together a little flyer with a QR code on it that we can staple on the door, on the bulletin board, whatever we have available to us, some kind of simple signage that would just allow people to know that they could rent those facilities. I mean, from a personal standpoint, was trying to think of a family get together this summer and didn't even consider the city of Wildwood, because I figured Wildwood Park's already booked. I'm sure that place is booked out through the fall, and stupid me, I should have called.
Well, no, I know it's not it's definitely not rented out. So if you're still
Mhm.
planning, I could definitely get you. I know somebody.
You know somebody, okay, that knows somebody? Yeah.
That being said, too, I think another big item here is I think we, as the committee, I think as a city as well, we may want to really revisit what that schoolhouse could be used for, because right now it's just the political subdivisions and
Mhm.
the actual nonprofits. If we were able to, I think that some individuals might see it as a good place to have a small gathering for a little birthday party, or if maybe they don't have space at their own home, or maybe they don't want to have
Mhm.
people at their home, but maybe also have it as a place. And obviously, we would have to then enforce the same security deposit, everything like that, and there would have to be a lot of rules and regulations just because we wouldn't want them to damage the historical nature of it. But I do think, right now it seems the schoolhouse itself seems to be the more hot ticket, being rented 9 times versus the 4 of the pavilion.
Mhm.
And also I was thinking, as a way to really kind of tie things together, what if we put together a combo package where you rent out both the schoolhouse and the pavilion, so you can have your full event there and you're practically renting out the property for the day. It's more expensive, and and the actual the deposit would be a little higher, but at the end of the day, I do think that could be an extension, where maybe the food is served outside and everything, but it has a place where you can go inside and cool off a little bit in the summer.
Mhm.
I think all those things, with the eligibility of being able to rent it out, might increase the advantage, especially if we had that, like you had mentioned, Councilmember Dodwell, on the sign of how you could potentially rent the property.
Mhm. What kind of next steps does the committee feel like we need to be taking on this?
Well, Katie, I guess I would absolutely agree with you that we have got to find a way to even just get a little bit of information out there. I had no
Mhm.
clue that it was there and that it was something that the city rented out.
Mhm.
So I agree with you. I think that's got to be the
Mhm.
first step.
Which means we post something on the website about its use, number one, and then number two, put signage up at each of the locations with a QR code that will direct them to making a request for rental. I'm thinking that may be a fairly quick and easy way to get some additional usage going.
All right, in that case, oh, sorry.
Do I need a motion to do that, or?
Yes.
Well, I'll make that motion, and then do we have a second?
I'll second it, yeah. And then we
Mr.
can have
Jaxi
discussion.
seconded, yeah.
A little
And
more
then
discussion.
now we can have discussion. Mhm.
So I know that there's a provision in there. I happen to be part of that when the Pond School was donated to the city. So there's a clause in back in the beginning about what you can do with it, and it was set up
Mhm.
for not-for-profits to be able to meet there. I actually thought originally when she gave it to us, and I can't think of her name, but her family owns Battery Plus is the
Mhm.
family. But when she donated it to the city, that was a provision that it would be a meeting place. The city, the city put a lot of money in it too. That's an expensive roof that's on there and all
Mhm.
the other work. So the city's put a lot of money in it. But I guess the two things is if it could be done for homeowners association, and I'm not, thank goodness, not a trustee anymore, but I know you can do the libraries for no charge, I believe.
Mhm.
And the schools, some of the schools, I think they can get for no charge. But I'm wondering if we already know who all the trustees are in the subdivisions in Wildwood. So maybe we could look at if you're trying to get the visibility of people going there to see about it, and we did have signs in there, is look at the possibility of, and I know there's a fee there, but maybe allow a subdivision to have one meeting a year there at no charge. If the other places are no charge, and just say, it's 50 people or less or something like that. But I mean, anytime people get in there, have never been there, that's
Mhm.
probably how you could then figure out a way to get more out of some of the other parks and that kind of stuff too. But we do have the subdivision people, and if it's used for that, that would be pretty easy to market to. I mean, to target. But we
Mhm.
just need to find out what those other options are. My subdivision's got a couple hundred houses. And the last 3 or 4 years, other than the 3 trustees, I've been the only other resident even showed up. So it's not like they had a massive crowd,
Mm-mm.
but, and we do it down at Green Pine School. So it just,
Mhm.
but I don't think that they're paying anything for it because I think they meet in the cafeteria. But I mean, that's kind of who, if it's got to be homeowners association, we know who they are and they all struggle to find places to meet, that might be a way to do something. And if you do have to pay at the library, I think the community college, Katie, can't you get it twice a year for free meetings?
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's just another one where if you're already up against that, it's hard to get somebody to pay to come to the city if we're trying to get them to get to know more about that opportunity for whatever it is. But if you can't use it for a family reunion or a wedding or something like that, then I'm not sure where you go from there. But I know there were provisions when she donated to us about what the use of it could be. And that doesn't mean that probably couldn't be changed. It's just the fact that there were some strings attached to it.
And while we were talking here, one other question I was going to ask is, have we talked to our Parks and Planning Department about some of the senior activities that they hold? Could we have a bunco thing or a bingo thing or a charades? I don't know. I don't know
What do people do?
But that's, if the city's sponsoring it, could we use that facility to garner those kinds of activities in that particular building?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Dodwell. I would have to double check. I do believe you're right, Mr. Marshall, that there is Councilmember Marshall, there is a provision on what we can utilize that space for.
Mhm.
That being said, I do believe that there could be a clause in there that says if it's the city is hosting an event there for maybe senior citizens for a bingo night, that it wouldn't necessarily fall. It would be okay because it's the city's technically the city's property. So in that case, I could look into that for sure. And I have spoken with the planning department, the Department of Parks, and they have stated that, yes, the utilization has been pretty low. And a lot of individuals that they do rent it out, the pavilion specifically, we get late cancellations. So there's a lot of that. But at the end of the day, they are more than willing to work with us. And the Parks Department has been nothing but a pleasure to work with on this because they're wanting the same thing. They're wanting more utilization and getting more people out there to that facility.
Okay. Well, I think you have several suggestions there, Thomas. So we'll let you flow with those. I don't know that we need to have any voting on anything at this point. Just got some good suggestions and appreciate the summary of what has been going on at these facilities, so that we understand how we're utilizing the funds, because just heating and cooling the old pond school, I can only imagine what that bill is each month, because that's not
It
a
sure does
high-tech
add up.
building. Yeah.
In that case, though, so just to summarize, and yes, I don't believe we need a motion here, but the main thing is here, we're going to go ahead and enhance the page on our website that we currently have for the Old Pond School. We'll go ahead and get a QR code posted at the site. We'll get that put out on social media once it is posted. We will go ahead as well. The department will reach out to the HOA trustees just to let them know that it is a potential meeting spot for them. And then also the department will speak with the Department of Parks and Planning and discuss potentially moving some of our senior activities there. But that's the main summary. Let me know if I missed anything there.
That sounds like it.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Okay, so moving on, we've got food trucks at city-sponsored events.
Yep. Vice Chair, is it okay?
Yes, please move ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So yes, during the last meeting held on May 23rd, 2023, we discussed potentially having food trucks at our Music on Main concert series during the summer. In this case, we did see that after that, we did not really want to move forward with having food trucks just because we wouldn't want to take away from the business to the local restaurants that were surrounding. So the committee had discussed potentially having restaurant owners set up booths at these events, so we could still have that local presence, but still have another customized food option, more culinary options for our residents. That being said, the committee had directed the department to reach out to local restaurants to see if they would be interested in potentially having a booth at these events, and then also going through and understanding what the permitting requirements were with the St. Louis County. And, there's a couple things here. At the end of the day, after speaking with multiple restaurant owners, about these items and saying, okay, well, what could we be doing here? Would you like to be, are you interested in, having a booth? Many restaurant owners here had said that they would be very interested. And I had walked them through what I had found out with the permitting requirements, and they thought that was great too. They said, hey, that's actually not too bad. That could be worth it, because technically it comes down to a $35 fee charged by the St. Louis County. The one thing that was the biggest, I would say, speed bump or hurdle to really being able to implement this program effectively was the fact that the businesses that I spoke to, they said they already have such a shortage in their staffing that it would be a very tough sell to be able to say on a Friday night, like this Friday's Music on Main series, that it would be tough for them to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take staff out of my brick and mortar restaurant and have them be at a booth on that same day. So that's been the main obstacle, is staffing. But they did say if we did have staffing there, they would be more than happy to do it. When it comes to the permitting requirements, I've attached a couple items here. You'll notice my summary, but also you'll notice that I have attached the temporary food establishment reference guide that the county provides, and then the temporary food establishment vendor checklist that is provided as well. So there are some steps, but it's not nearly as intensive as you would think. The main thing is that the brick and mortar restaurant would just have to obtain that temporary food permit from the St. Louis County Department of Public Health. And if it was a city-sponsored event, they technically wouldn't need the permit for the special event permit, so that would be waived in this case. But so if it like Celebrate Wildwater Music on Main, they would only need that temporary food permit. The other thing is they would pretty much just have to pay the $35 fees. They would not get a refund on those fees. They would also, our events would be then subject to inspection from the Department of Public Health. Typically would not happen just because we are also another public entity. So if it's a city-sponsored event, it could still happen, but it most likely wouldn't. But also at the same time, they would have to just have their permit viewable at the booth, so any resident that would be coming could see it. On top of that, they would also need to submit their applications within 10 days, at least 10 days prior to the event, for review and processing. And that would just allow them, the county, to make sure that everything's being served under sanitary conditions. If you look to the, sorry, I'm really trying to catch my voice here. If you look to the actual reference guide, though, there are some serious requirements about sanitation. So with the sanitation here, I'll just read some of this to you. You need to have a supply of approved potable drinking water for the employee hand washing, and any water hoses should be of food grade quality, and hose connections should be elevated off the ground. So these brick and mortar businesses might not have that readily available. The hand washing stations must also have hand soap and disposable paper towels. In this case, that would be something that the city might have to take on, just because I know unless we were able to get multiple businesses involved, we would probably have to provide something like that. But I do know that our vendor that provides our porta potties, they also do provide that service as well. The other piece is the hand sink and water under pressure is not available. So when a hand sink and water under pressure is not available, a large picnic jug with a tap, a coffee turn, or a portable camping sink with a flea flowering spigot shall be used, and that they should provide a separate bucket under the water container to catch such wastewater. So there are some pretty unique, if you're versus selling from a brick and mortar shop, there are additional items that you would have to really address. And, I did run those by the businesses I spoke with, and they did say if multiple businesses were interested in this program, they would also be interested as well. They just didn't really want to be the only person out there. And they also said they'd have to kind of figure out their staffing shortage issue beforehand. So at this time, the department's looking, not necessarily for a motion today, but just a little bit of further time to collect additional information to maybe in some ideas on addressing the staffing shortage issue. That's
Mhm.
something that I will be bringing, the department will be bringing to the committee's attention in the coming month. Just speaking with businesses, it really has seemed to be tantamount to not allowing them to do these kind of things, which could potentially get their exposure up and have the visibility that they really do need to have. So other than that, though, just wanted to get committee input on the update that has been provided and see what the next steps would be. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any comments, questions from anybody? Mr. Bartoni?
Thank you. I mean, Thomas, I'm all in favor of trying to make this work if it's all possible, but like with your discussions with some of the local restaurants, were they looking for the city to provide labor, or they just needed advance notice to be able to bring in additional labor?
Thank you, Councilmember Bartoni. What they were saying was at this time, they were not saying the city would have to provide the labor, but they were saying at this time they wouldn't be able to participate because they just don't have the staff to support it on, because our events are on Fridays and Saturday. Well, Saturday for Celebrate Wildwood, they'll be there for that, but for some of them will be anyways. But for the Music on Main concert series, it's Friday night pretty much, and that's kind of their hot ticket item. So they kind of need all hands on deck back at the brick and mortar shop so they can serve the residents that do come in. So
Yeah,
they were not
understand.
requesting. Yeah, thank you.
Did they
Yeah,
indicate?
thank you.
Did you get a chance to talk to any of the vendors in the town center area to ask them on those Friday Music on Main events, are they seeing an uptick in traffic into their restaurants beforehand?
Yes. So at this time, there is no data for this year. But I did talk to Benedetto's, the owner of Benedetto's, Rob Knoll, and he did
Mhm.
state back in 2022 that they did see a small uptick in, not necessarily like a wave of people, but they
Mhm.
did see an uptick in service. And I did remember speaking with Botanica back when they were still open, and they
Mhm.
did say during Celebrate Wildwood, and especially during the Winter Fest that we had, the holiday tree lighting ceremony, supposedly
Mhm.
they were booked out. They were open. They stayed open later than they actually were, typically
Mhm.
open till they stayed, I think, open till 11:30 or so. So these events that happen in town center do support the local economy, and they do support our local restaurants. I think the main key is just them finding enough staff, because right now with Benedetto's, they also are very interested. Mr. Knoll is such a great individual. He's willing to participate in anything the city provides, but really at the end of the day, he's doing a shift with his staff right now, and he just hired a new executive chef. So he's just a little short-handed right now, and he really wants to focus on making sure that his brick and mortar shop can sustain itself.
Perhaps, and I'll put this out to the committee, perhaps what we do is hold on to the information collected, and then let's retouch with the owners of these restaurants, say in January, so we can work with the Planning and Parks Department to see how, as we put together our calendar for the 2024, holy cow, 2024, the 2024 year, we can see if we can, with some advanced planning, be better prepared to have alignment with these restaurants and food vendors so that they can participate more openly with it. I know when we first started these Music on Main series, we would have, Ed, you'll know this, Indigo Joe's would have a booth outside their restaurant because it was right there on Main Street, and we've got several restaurants that are close by, so some may want to have customers come into their facility directly. Others may want to have a small booth. So we've got quite a bit of flexibility in options, but I think let's give it a little bit more time for these vendors to get out of the COVID hell that we all went through, and see if people actually do come back to work like I can't believe we don't have teenagers working yet, but I guess I'm a mean mom. I made mine work. Ed, do you
Yeah,
have?
we would compete with you for the meanest parents, but our kids work too.
Uh,
The challenge with any of these, and this same thing on Sunday, is the amount of time it takes to set them up, put the
Mhm,
tents up, take the tables down, and then if you
mhm.
don't have enough help, and it's just like, you know what, it was really fun to be there, but we have a business to run. And as
Mhm,
Katie said, back when we used to do the barbecue bash, I mean, we'd have 50, 60,000 people there. But
Mm-hmm.
Indigo Joe's, they had to get not-for-profits to do the work because they couldn't keep up with the rest of their business. Now, it
Mm-mm.
worked out great for the not-for-profits because, they gave us quite a bit of money for those type of events. But it's just a real challenge to get help. And then by the time you have to set up a 3-bay wash sink because you're going to use ice and margaritas or whatever,
Mhm,
it's a lot of work. And especially if it's only for 2 or 3 hours,
mhm.
it was a challenge when it was a 3-day event, but it's hard. And I think that's why people just resist it a little bit and kind of how you get into the food truck thing. But I just thought the example Sunday where 3 of the 5 didn't show up. And, what do you do when you're expecting to have 6 and only 3 show? And the ones that were there, the people that, and Joe would remember, but I know some people that went over, it took them 25 minutes or so to get a sandwich and came back and said, wow, the line was long, but they couldn't keep up with the people they had, but there weren't that many people there. So, I mean, that if they had a big crowd, it would have been a lot more complaining, I'm afraid of. But, it's a tough one. They all have their businesses to run too, because they have to get permits to be able to bring those in. And I think 1 or 2 of them said they didn't get their permits
Mhm.
to be able to come and do the event. So obviously there's more checking on those than what you think, or they wouldn't have been worried about it. And that might have just been an excuse too. I don't know. So.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilmember Marshall. And just a heads up too, is that, the WBA, when I talked to her, about maybe a week or 2 ago, they were expecting 12 different vendors, and that wasn't all food trucks. That was food being supplied at booths too, and packaging. But yeah, to see that go down to 3, that's very sad to hear. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. I was traveling back from a trip to my brother's house, but yeah, that is upsetting.
Mhm. Well, we appreciate the data collection that's occurred. Let's put this on the back burner for, say, the December meeting or January meeting, so we can work with planning and parks to see how we can support the businesses in some of the events that they're having.
In that case, Vice Chair Dodwell, the department would be requesting a motion tonight to postpone until January of 2024.
We have a motion from Don Bartoni and a second from Rob Jaxie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okey doke. We've got our marching orders. I think, gentlemen, that's the last thing on the agenda. Anyone
Katie, I
else?
will make a motion to adjourn so Thomas can go home and stop talking and go
Yes.
get better.
Mhm. And there's a second from Mr. Jackson.
Guy is suffering.
All in favor?
I'm okay, guys. Don't worry.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you all, gentlemen, for your participation this evening, and we hope to see Thomas in a much better state of health the next time we see him.
Yes.
Go home,
Go get
Thomas.
better.
Well, thank you, everyone, and I hope everyone has a great night.
Good night.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye, guys.